So hello, everybody, and welcome to this year's Judges on Fire podcast. This is where we get to meet the judges who are looking at the entrants at the Tech Trailblazers. And I'm delighted to be joined today by one of our new judges, Jukka Seppänen from UpCloud, who is their CIO and CISO. Hello, Jukka, how are you?
Hi, Rose. I'm fine. Thanks for asking. Lovely to be here. Thanks for letting me join the panel.
Oh, well, we're delighted to have you, Jukka. Perhaps you'd like to tell the readers and the viewers a little bit about UpCloud, and then perhaps dive into what your role as a CIO and CISO looks like at UpCloud.
Oh, sure. Just very short about UpCloud. So we're a Finnish-based Helsinki-headquartered European cloud provider, and we provide the core services companies need to, build and operate any modern application. There's compute, there's storage, networking, managed Kubernetes, managed databases, private cloud capabilities, and such. We do have a global reach, so we operate based on 15 data centers across 12 countries. So even though our roots are in Finland, we are very much an international company. And these days, what's relevant, what sets apart from many is that we are fully European owned and operations based in Europe. So we're able to provide crucial sovereignty components to those who need them. We offer like a practical alternative with modern infrastructure, quite competitive performance, and an excellent operational support. I think our customer service will be with you in a minute, which is quite tight, and I would say even impossible for some other providers. So that's UpCloud in a nutshell.
Fantastic. And you've got an interesting role there because you're a hybrid. So not only are you the CIO, which obviously has certain responsibilities, you're also CISO, which means that you have a very keen eye on the cyber considerations for the services that you provide. So perhaps you could give us a little bit more of an insight into what that means in practical terms for you.
Sure. So I would say that I see these things as two lenses to be used in looking at the same decisions and same problems. The CIO, in this case, thinks about how can we deliver, how can we operate, how to be reliable, how to scale. CISO also asks these similar things, but the focus is more on what can go wrong, what level of risk is acceptable, and how do we demonstrate that we actually have a framework where we manage the risk and have controls which have an effect on the outcomes. And so at UpCloud, I would say that the CISO and CIO roles, the responsibilities, they're very closely connected because cloud security and cloud operations, you can't really separate these things. You cannot sprinkle security on top of something at a later stage. So on the CIO side, I'm responsible for the operational capabilities of the cloud, and on the CISO side, I'm looking after the governance of information security, product security, incident readiness, and so on. Essentially, I'm protecting the company and our customers. That makes sense to me and has been so far functional, well-working combination. Of course, now never doing that alone. So I would just want to add that me having a couple of hats just means that a lot of brilliant people actually do the real work for me.
Well, that's very kind of you. So tell us a little bit about how you got into technology and into cyber.
Right. Well, that was in the 90s when I started my career, and back then there wasn't any cyber really. There was only the early commercial internet, which really practically grew on top of what was mostly back then academic and available to some companies, but mostly even just to university students and stuff. And I was lucky enough to be there during those years when commercial internet really started to gain speed. And at that time, operational capabilities and security were so closely intertwined. Security was rarely even mentioned separately as a topic. And as things grew in volume and in complication, these have become different fields. I should say that coming into security at the later stage in my career through working for security software company, for example, I would say that the technology and operations have taught me that security controls, they have to survive the actual reality of service production. So a control which is so greatly designed that you cannot actually operate it reliably is not really a good control. So there's the old saying about great plans and then facing the enemy on the battlefield, something along those lines.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. And tell us a little bit about what interests you about startups, because obviously this is something that you're doing, over and above an already very busy 2 roles. But you've obviously seen that there's some benefit in, getting more familiar with perhaps some startups that you've not come across in the past.
Sure. So what's into most startups? I would say that startups and scale-ups, what makes them cool, in my opinion, is the proximity between a decision and a consequence. So there's often a very direct view into how, for example, a technology choice will affect the customers, the revenue, the reliability, and the people. So all the interesting outcomes, and also there's an opportunity to build. There's an opportunity to build capabilities, not just inherit a legacy. You can establish, for example, security and operations. You can do governance. You can experiment. You will fail, of course, but you will learn as you go. I don't romanticize chaos. I don't want to mean that. I think it's the interesting challenge is adding the right amount of structure at the right time so that we can grow. We can grow in a sustainable manner without slowing everything down too much while still managing the risk in an acceptable manner. I think that's the key point. So there's visible impact on your design and your choices. There's a fast feedback loop. You can probably within the same day revert a decision, and it's fine in a startup. In a very large enterprise, it would take weeks for that decision to even reach the ground, possibly. So to build not just technology build, but build cultures, I would say as well. Startups and scale-ups, I see them as communities. Everything works or doesn't work if the people are happy about it, what they're doing together. So, yeah.
Brilliant. And you've talked about proximity and the speed that startups and scale-ups in technology they can achieve. And we've certainly seen that the market or the landscape, particularly perhaps from a cyber perspective, has changed a lot, and it's continuing to change a lot. We're not seeing a very stable state, I think is probably a fair way of describing it.
For sure.
We've had all the stuff around Mythos. We've got these rather leaky sandboxes that Anthropic, talked about last week. We've got the Hugging Face stuff. We've got the JLR anniversary coming up, where Jaguar Land Rover had one of the most impactful on an economy attacks, which was a year ago this month. So, wow. What would you say are your sort of takeaways around what's happening, what you're seeing? Obviously, we can't avoid the whole AI conversation because that's where an awful lot of this change is happening.
Yeah, well, it's a big question. I should say that we need to be a bit cautious about making claims about autonomous AI. We do know that there has been capability jumps clearly, and I should think that we are now standing somewhere where we can't really fully see what's coming ahead, but we know a big change will be. How it's gonna look like exactly, I'm not sure we can tell. What we know is that there are immediate concerns, immediate needs organizations face. We need to stop treating AI instructions security boundaries, for example. If we can't just tell that, oh, you don't get to access the internet. That's not an enforceable technical boundary restriction. We need to give agents operating on agentic platforms, we need to give them specific identities, and we need to give them minimum permissions. We can't treat agents as trusted employees, or especially give them unrestricted service accounts. We need to think about how we can implement hard technical controls in the network, in tooling, in credentials, in data access. We need to consider what are the blast zones. I would say we need to improve our vulnerability remediation as well. The volume is something which AI has changed in, for example, bug bounty environments. Bug bounty platform providers are at least at times they're sort of swamped by a flood of research findings which are done with the help of, or possibly almost entirely automated by AI agents. Some of them can be viable and very, very good findings. Most of them probably are not, but just the mere effort of trying to validate all of these. So it's again a capability jump which has resulted in more information we need to be able to process, and there's no other way to do that than fight fire with fire. So I guess in that sense we are back at we need to be able to harness the power in places where we have previously, I should say, being more hesitant in giving these capabilities a go, because for sure the bad actors, they're not restrained by any of these limitations. They will use whatever weapons available to them, and they already have been using this for years. We can't bring a knife to a firefight.
Yes, to quote the good Indiana Jones, I believe.
Indeed.
Well, that's always a nice reference. I think that's ticked my podcast bingo that we've talked about Indiana Jones. And obviously, being in Helsinki, you may have some, other insights into, the tech world, the cybersecurity challenges, opportunities. Do you think there's anything that you could share with the readers, perhaps with a Helsinki-based lens, that you think might be useful for people?
Sure. I should say that Helsinki, Finland, bases, resilience and sovereignty. They feel fairly practical. These are not philosophical thought points. Finland is small, highly digital country, and we have a difficult geopolitical border. So the questions on who operates essential infrastructure, which type of dependencies we have, how services continue during disruptions, these are very practical questions, not abstract. At the same time, we are a small country, so that teaches you that sovereignty cannot always mean full self-sufficiency. So we can't build all the pieces of digital economy in Finland. Neither can most European countries, if any. So I should say that European, just like Finnish digital autonomy and our capabilities, they come from a dependable collaboration between European countries and companies. So I see the European sovereignty as a network of friendly collaborators, rather than each of us trying to build a digital fortress on our own. I don't think most European countries are capable of that. So I should say that in Finland, we understand both sides of the sovereignty question. There's controlling critical dependencies is important, but we can't do all things alone. So we better collaborate and win together.
Yeah, collaboration is really important for sure. And from your perspective, I mean, obviously you're keen to be seeing what some of our startups, or hopefully all of our startups, are offering, particularly in the cyber and perhaps on the cloud side. But is there any advice that you have for entrants? Anything in particular you'd like to see from people?
Well, a short tank approach maybe. So I would hope that it all would start with the customer problem. So maybe don't start highlighting in your architecture or all the cool features. So startups are created to solve a problem, and what that problem is, why does it matter so much? I think that needs to be clear, and then maybe explain. There's always going to be innovation, but maybe explain it in detail. So don't tell me it's AI powered, or don't tell me it's next generation. That doesn't mean anything. Identify if there's any actual technical or commercial or operational differences, because these will be interesting after you first explained what actual problem is being solved here. Maybe then startups could go about and explain how ready they are for enterprise, and bring the evidence. So can you deploy this without consulting projects, or can you integrate with existing systems? Can you demonstrate credible security operational models? So how can we justify yet another vendor or yet another product? These are interesting. But bringing evidence and not just adjectives will help here. So if you already have customers in, maybe explain about the time saved or revenue generated or deployment times decreased or whatever is it that you are impacting. Talk about these outcomes. I should say I'm very interested in hearing about the outcomes, and less interested in hearing about the fantastic tech which you have chosen to create that solution. And maybe also I'm always interested in hearing honest discussion about the competition. So I would love to see some entries where they approach their competition in a positive manner, and also admitting that there is competition probably already, and in some shape or form. Saying that we have none maybe would mean that you just don't understand what the competition is, I would say. So, and maybe don't assume that judges actually are specialists in your chosen field. So I would hope that even though judges are very experienced, I would hope that plain language is used, and the problem, the solution, the benefit, the value is explained in less of a tech startup founder lingo, and more in general business lingo, which will be easier to receive by the judges, but also future business collaborators. So maybe in a finishing in a Finnish way, I would say, because we Finnish people are honest, but also quite direct. So please be specific, and provide the evidence. Remove the unnecessary marketing language. If you generally have a good enterprise technology story, you don't have to flourish it. You don't have to exaggerate. Just tell me what you have, and it will be interesting on its own.
That's an interesting thing, because you mentioned a couple of things. I think next generation and AI powered, and oh dear. And it did make us think, because we were wondering, are there any particular buzzwords other than those two that you go and you see it and you go, oh no? What are there any sort of words that would kind of grind Jukka's gears a little bit? Just as tips, because I think I know it's not really that wouldn't make too much of a difference from a triggering perspective, but I do think it is interesting, because obviously
build for the cloud doesn't mean any. Build for the cloud used to be some years ago something I saw a lot. Enterprise ready, these sort of claims, which I understand what we are after there, but they mean very little, and they don't really tell anything about the qualities. But yeah, I should say that next generation and AI powered they have definitely outgrown their value, and should be avoided.
Yeah, for sure. And is there anything else that you'd like to share with our readers, and well, not readers, but more listeners and viewers?
Well, if given the opportunity, I always like to preach the good word of European digital sovereignty and autonomy. I encourage that as I said earlier, collaboration, I believe, is the European way to victory. And I do believe that all the providers or the SaaS companies, the MSPs, customers, government agencies, we need to gently push ourselves and our neighbors towards European capabilities built together in Europe. And if there's something any of you can do in your current career or in your professional life, I encourage you to do that. Things will take time, but we will reach them as we start them now. And every little push will take us a tiny little bit further on that road, which I believe we need to be on.
Yeah. Well, that's very insightful. Thanks for that, Jukka. So, yeah, we'll bring things to a close. Thank you very much, Jukka, for taking the time to share your thoughts. And I think it's going to be an exciting year, and I'm sure we're going to get some great startups and scale-ups for you to have a look at. So we look forward to your thoughts on that. And thank you all for listening and viewing. Very much appreciate it. My name is Rose Ross, and I'm the Chief Trailblazer and founder of the Tech Trailblazers Awards. And you've been listening to Jukka Seppänen, who is the CISO and CIO at UpCloud. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.